She looks like an A-list actress, as convincing in an action blockbuster as she is in a period drama. But she isn't real.
I'm Tilly Norwood, the world's first AI actor.
And performers are worried that avatars like her will gradually replace them. Many in the industry say digital body scans on set have become routine, and they're concerned their likeness will be used to train generative artificial intelligence models.
The awareness sort of began gradually a couple of years ago when friends started telling me that they were finding their voices on these synthetic voice websites, or other friends saying that their images had been cloned for use in projects that they hadn't agreed to.
Most at risk are film extras and those just starting out.
We're seeing low-level jobs beginning to go. They're beginning to nibble away on the day-to-day bread and butter jobs that makes a career. And it's not necessarily that the AI is doing it better, but for the moment it's doing it cheaper.
For the producers, the appeal is clear. AI performers don't need breaks, they don't complain, and the technology behind them is improving fast. In fact, what you've just seen wasn't the real me, but an AI-generated avatar, and it took us only minutes to create it. We used a single photograph and a short prompt. But at the cutting edge of this technology is Tilly Norwood.
She'll do anything I say. I'm already in love.
Now in talks with talent agencies, according to her creator.
We've been through these types of revolutions and changes a lot as human beings. We've been through the Industrial Revolution, and this is not dissimilar. There will be changes. I'm not going to lie and say everyone's job is fine, but jobs will change. So we're working with production designers in the AI space. We're working with costume designers in the AI space. So there's also really exciting new jobs up ahead.
The technology is advancing quickly. The laws governing it, unions say, need to catch up. Milena Veselinovic, Al Jazeera, London.
Well, let's speak to Adrian Monck about this. He's a senior advisor on artificial intelligence and technology, and he's joining us from Geneva. Adrian, good to have you on Al Jazeera. I have so many questions about all this. Let's start with, the fact that actors are saying that their face and voice are now going to be treated like raw data. Are they right to be concerned about this? Is AI a fundamental threat to performers' rights?
I think we saw with Scarlett Johansson when she took on OpenAI after they released a voice that was almost certainly to a lot of users a clone of the voice that she had in the movie Her, that this is becoming something that's really, really concerning for the acting industry. But like a lot of these issues, you have to think about how it's going to be resolved. And I think in this case, what we see is the Scarlett Johansson's people with agents and with negotiating power are going to be in a much stronger position than the kind of people that we're talking about in your report, which is jobbing actors, people in the middle of the industry. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see a little of this with AI generally, which is that there's a kind of winner-take-all dynamic to it, where people at the very top are finding it an incredibly powerful tool to replace junior people.
Right.
And the acting industry, I guess, is one of those industries where we're seeing it very quickly.
Right, and which brings up a lot of questions. I mean, once an actor is canned, who should legally own that digital likeness? Is it the performer or the production company?
Yeah, I mean, these are all subjects of negotiation. When you sign a contract, what's your position vis-a-vis the person you're signing with in the studio? Is it something they can demand of you, or is it something you have rights to? In Denmark, we've seen the Danes, who admittedly don't have a huge television or film production industry, but they've actually passed legislation saying that every person in Denmark has a right to their digital identity and their likeness and their voice. So this kind of move is coming in some places, very progressive places like Denmark. And we've also seen, by the way, in the world of country music, Tennessee has one of the first digital acts that protects performers, because the country music industry is one where people want their voices and likenesses protected.
Right.
You think about Elvis as kind of the original in that world.
What about financially, Adrian? If an AI performer takes on a role, who is accountable and who benefits financially from it?
I mean, this is where you have to see at the moment, it's the creators, the people who are creating those digital entities that are seeing some of the benefits. But I think very quickly that's going to move upstream to the studios themselves, because the technology is developing very rapidly, it's commoditizing, and we can easily see that studios can be owning and deploying some of these characters. We've seen a little bit of this before with characters coming out of the games industry, for example, the Lara Crofts and characters like that, where they've moved into mainstream things and they've become property in themselves for games manufacturers. So I think in the end, we're going to see the studios becoming owners and developers potentially of these kinds of characters. Perhaps we might see some intermediaries emerging who are going to run little stables of these. You can imagine a CAA running a kind of virtual stable of powerful brands, and perhaps that's one vision of the future.
Now, coming back to what's happening in the UK and looking at the actors there saying that, they have to consent to this. But if refusing a scan means losing work, especially for extras and, people who are in the lower paid roles and so on, can consent in this case ever be really meaningful?
I mean, I think what you see is it's about bargaining power. And in the case of people without a lot of bargaining power, they have to do it collectively. You saw in the United States, you had the Screen Actors Guild and AFRA coming together to try and make sure that their members had more rights when it came to negotiating with studios. I think you'll see the same thing in the UK. And it really depends on where the bargaining power sits.
Right.
The problem for the industry globally is sometimes you can move country. If Ireland, for example, was proposing an easier system of regulation, perhaps that would become the new place that Hollywood wanted to go to for virtual actors.
Right. And as you said, Adrian, the technology is moving fast, but the laws, it would seem, much slower. Ideally, what would a fair AI future for film and television actually look like from your point of view?
Look, I think, when it comes to industrial bargains, you want to make sure that people have rights and that those rights are enforceable and that they're shared. And I think that's one of the kind of concerns that this industry is showing up, where people at the very top have their rights protected very well because they have lawyers and establishments behind them. I think when it comes to people further down, that's where we need governments to come together and international institutions to actually give some regulations that mean something for people who are less well represented and who haven't got the kind of bargaining power individually that we see with big Hollywood names.
Very interesting to talk to you about this. Thank you so much for joining us. Adrian Monck, a senior advisor on artificial intelligence and technology, live there from Geneva. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.